Good morning and happy Sunday. Welcome to the Sunny Days podcast, where I'm going to share a few heartwarming stories and some movie and music trivia. We'll have a little bit of a tribute today in our music trivia and more. So grab a cup of sunshine and let's get started. First up, well, on February 28th last year, Erin Jackson, who traveled from Arkansas, found herself celebrating her birthday at a popular restaurant in New York City. She was joined by her husband and a few friends, all enjoying a lively dinner. Nearby, two strangers, one of them from Brooklyn, a local named Sue, were seated at another table. Of course, over the evening, conversation naturally flowed between the tables. Erin, an entrepreneur running a marketing tech startup, recalls how the two groups quickly hit it off. They shared laughs, swapped stories, and even started sharing dishes by the time dessert had arrived. As the night came to an end, Erin and Sue shared a brief goodbye. Sue, in her 70s, commented with a smile, "New York magic is real, so I hope we run into each other again." Rather than leaving it to chance, Erin responded with an idea. "I believe in New York magic," she said, "but what if we create a little bit of our own? Let's plan a time to run into each other." On the spot, the two agreed. They'd meet again in 10 months on December the 27th at the same restaurant and at the same time, 7 p.m. However, they decided not to exchange phone numbers, no emails, or any contact information at all. It was a test of faith and memory. Each of them would simply have to trust the other to follow through. Wow. Months passed. Erin returned to her life in Arkansas, where she lived with her husband and two children. And despite the busyness of running her company and raising her family, she never forgot the promise she made to Sue. Meanwhile, Sue never forgot that promise either. She went about her life in Brooklyn, staying busy, holding on to that same commitment. When December the 27th arrived, Erin boarded a flight to New York and made her way to the restaurant. She didn't know if Sue would actually show up after all. They haven't spoken since that night in February, 10 months earlier. But just as they agreed, she walked through the door at 7 p.m., right on time. Both women kept their word, creating a joyful and heartfelt reunion. The moment felt surreal, like a scene from a movie. They embraced, sat down, picked up their conversation as if no time had passed at all. Their story gained attention when footage of their meeting began to circulate online. Charming viewers who admired their ability to keep such a pure and simple promise. "We were just two people who really wanted to keep a promise to each other," Erin reflected later. The reunion was a reminder of the power of trust, faith, and a little bit of New York magic. And now, a family in Illinois had an unforgettable Thanksgiving last year. And it was all thanks to a stranger's quick thinking and generosity. Well, this story brings us to last November in Aurora, when Guy Miller was walking his dog Bentley near his home. While out on his route, U.S. Post Office worker Jalen Lockhart noticed Miller take a terrible fall. As soon as he spotted the incident in his rearview mirror, Lockhart stopped his truck, rushed to help, and called emergency services. Jalen didn't stop there. He also flagged down the neighbors and reached out to Mr. Miller's wife, Marcy, to let her know what had happened. He stayed by Mr. Miller's side, ensuring he wasn't alone. Reflecting on that moment, Jalen said, "I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting myself into, but I did know that whatever he was going through, we were going to face it together." Fortunately, Guy's injuries were not severe, and he recovered well. A social media from the city Aurora praised Jalen's actions, calling him a hero for stepping in at just the right moment. But what really set this story apart was how it brought two families together. Grateful for his help, the Millers invited Jalen and his loved ones to join their Thanksgiving celebration. Marcy later recalled how she asked, "What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Do you have a family?" "Yeah." "Well, we're family now." The story didn't end there, though. At Awards Winter Lights Festival, Jalen was recognized for his selfless actions. He helped light the city's holiday tree and received the Mayor's Award of Service from Mayor Richard Irvin, who expressed his gratitude by saying, "You have made all of us in Aurora proud." Jalen's response to all the recognition was humble and heartfelt. "I'm blessed and so glad that I was chosen to do this," he said. "I will hold this near and dear to my heart." Through one act of kindness, a postal worker not only helped a neighbor in need, but he also gained a new family and the gratitude of an entire community. Thank you, sir. Glad you're doing better, uh, Mr. Guy and Mr. Jalen. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your help. And now, how about some did you know? Well, in February, there's a variety of holidays and observances, some widely celebrated and others kind of more certain niche or culture. Here's a few examples. Did you know that Groundhog today, February the 2nd, it's a lighthearted tradition in the US and in Canada. It's said that if a groundhog sees its shadow, winter will last 6 more weeks. If not, spring will come early. I've not heard yet today. And Valentine's Day, celebrated on February the 14th, a global celebration of love and romance. Valentine's Day is marked by exchanging cards and flowers and chocolates and gifts among friends and partners and loved ones. And then there's President's Day. Did you know that's the third Monday of February in the US, originally established to honor George Washington's birthday? This federal holiday now recognizes all US presidents and often coincides with events and sales promotions. And did you know that it's the Chinese New Year? Dates vary. Typically, it's late January or early to mid February. I believe it's currently going on. It's also known as the Lunar New Year. This major holiday is celebrated in China and many other Asian countries and communities worldwide. It's marked by family reunions, festive meals, lion dances, and the giving of red envelopes for luck. And did you know, speaking of red, it's National Wear Red Day? It's the first Friday of February, coming up this Friday. This day is part of the American Heart Month in the US. It is intended to raise awareness of heart disease and encourage people, especially women, to know their heart health risk. And did you know that it's Black History Month all of February in the US and Canada? Throughout the month of February, there are events, lectures, performances, exhibits, all honoring the contributions, history, and culture of Black individuals and communities. It is also in a couple of days celebrated on February 4th. Did you know World Cancer Day, an international day to raise awareness of cancer prevention, detection, and treatment, and to support those affected by the disease? Well, it is also, did you know, Mardi Gras Day. Dates vary often in February. This is also known as Fat Tuesday. In French, this festive celebration occurs just before the start of Lent. As a matter of fact, Ash Wednesday is the day after Fat Tuesday. In famous places like in New Orleans for parades, costumes, music, and vibrant community gatherings. Also, February the 17th, mark this one on your calendar, folks. It is Random Acts of Kindness Day. That is February the 17th. It encourages individuals to perform small acts of kindness, from paying it forward at a grocery store or a coffee shop, to writing a heartfelt note to a friend or a colleague. There you have some good did you knows. Well, in our entertainment world, for movies, as the chill of winter persists in some places, what better way to stay warm than by indulging in the magical world of cinema? February promises a packed lineup of films that will captivate audiences across genres and styles. Captain America, The Brave New World, invites viewers to return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe for an epic tale that blends action, heroism, and heart. This latest installment follows the new Captain America as he grapples with global threats, challenging personal choices, and legacy of this shield, enduring the legacy of the shield. And then there's Paddington in Peru, which takes the beloved bear on an enduring new adventure. Paddington's travels to his birthplace, encountering quirky new characters and heartwarming moments. Expect the same daily humor and charm that have made the previous films family favorites. And then there's Becoming Led Zeppelin, which dives into the origins of one of rock and roll's most legendary bands. This compelling documentary explores the band members' early lives, their meetings, and the explosive chemistry that would lead to the groundbreaking music and international stardom they would see. Fans of classic rock, you don't want to miss this intimate behind-the-scenes story. And for fans of thrillers and the macabre, February also offers fresh horror and fantasy releases. For those who enjoy a darker twist on romance, the Love You to Death series presents a curated selection of romantically tinged horror classics, along with a full revisit of the Twilight Saga. Whatever your taste, February's rich array of cinematic offerings promises to warm both hearts and imaginations. And now in our music world, well, kind of a tribute. Just out recently was the Bob Dylan biopic. It's generated a lot of buzz, A Complete Unknown. It dives into the life of the iconic musician during the pivotal years when he was transformed from a young folk artist to the cultural phenomenon he is. Starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan, the film explores the early 1960s in New York City's vibrant Greenwich Village scene, where Dylan's poetic lyrics and distinct voice began to draw attention. The movie delves into his struggles, influences, and the relationships that shaped this artist's vision, particularly his interactions with Joan Baez, played by Monica Barbaro. Director James Mangold aims to create not only Dylan's historic rise, but also the culture and political backdrop of the era, showcasing how his music challenged convention and inspired a generation. With a focus on key moments such as Dylan's controversial move from acoustic folk to electric rock and his growing fame, the film paints an intimate portrait of an artist finding his voice while grappling with the expectations placed upon him. In doing so, A Complete Unknown offers a rich, evocative look at a young Bob Dylan during a transformative period in his legendary career. Which brings to mind, I don't know, those of you that recall, he won the Nobel Prize for Literature. He had a speech at the Nobel banquet in Stockholm City Hall in December back in 2016. The speech was given by U.S. Ambassador. Bob Dylan wasn't there in person, but his speech spoke to, he said who he is. He was talking about who he is and what he thought in this speech. I thought it was so honest, so pure. So if you want to know what he thinks and who he is at that moment, this is what he was telling you. So I wanted to take a moment or two or a minute or two to read that Nobel banquet speech. Again, it was the 10th of December in 2016, and I will be in quote here for a little bit. Quoting, "Good evening, everyone. I extend my warmest," I'm sorry, I'm going to back up real quick. This is Bob Dylan's speech at the Nobel banquet in Stockholm. It begins with him saying, good evening, everyone. I extend my warmest greetings to the members of the Swedish Academy and to all of the other distinguished guests in attendance. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but please know that I am most definitely with you in spirit and honored to be receiving such a prestigious award. Being awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature is something I never could have imagined or seen coming. From an early age, I've been familiar with reading and absorbing the works of those who were deemed worthy of such a distinction. Kipling, Shaw, Thomas Mann, Pearl Buck, Albert Camus, Hemingway. These giants of literature, whose works are taught in the schoolroom, housed in libraries around the world, and spoken of in reverent tones, have always made a deep impression. That I now join the names on such a list is truly beyond words. I don't know if these men and women ever thought of the Nobel honor for themselves, but I suppose that anyone writing a book or a poem or a play anywhere in the world might harbor that secret dream deep down inside. It's probably buried so deep they don't even know it's there. If someone have ever told me that I had the slightest chance of winning the Nobel Prize, I would have to think that I'd have about the same odds as standing on the moon. In fact, during the year I was born, and for a few years after, there wasn't anyone in the world who was recognized good enough to win this Nobel Prize. So I recognize that I am in very rare company, to say the least. I was out on the road when I received this surprising news, and it took me more than a few minutes to properly process it. I began to think about William Shakespeare, the great literary figure. I would reckon he thought of himself as a dramatist. I thought the thought that he was writing literature couldn't have entered his head. His words were written for the stage, meant to be spoken, not read. When he was writing Hamlet, I'm sure he was thinking about a lot of different things. Who are the right actors for these roles? Who should be staged? Do I really want to set this in Denmark? His creative vision and ambitions were no doubt at the forefront of his mind, but there were also more mundane matters to consider and deal with. Is the financing in place? Are the seats good enough for my patrons? Where am I going to get a human skull? I bet that the furthest thing from Shakespeare's mind was the question, is this literature? When I started writing songs as a teenager, and even as I started to achieve some renown for my abilities, my aspirations for these songs only went so far. I thought they could be heard in coffee houses or bars, maybe later in places like Carnegie Hall, the London Palladium. If I was really dreaming big, maybe I could imagine getting to make a record and then hearing my songs on the radio. That was really the big prize in my mind. Making records and hearing your songs on the radio meant that you were reaching a big audience and that you might get to keep doing what you had set out to do. Well, I've been doing what I set out to do for a long time. I've made dozens of records and played thousands of concerts all around the world. But it's my songs that are my vital center of almost everything I do. They seem to have found a place in the lives of many people throughout many different cultures, and I'm grateful for that. But there's one thing I must say. As a performer, I played for 50,000 people, and I've played for 50 people. And I can tell you that it's harder to play for 50 people. 50,000 people have a singular persona, not so with 50. Each person has an individual separate identity, a world unto themselves. They can perceive things more clearly. Your honesty and how it relates to the depth of your talent and how it's tied. The fact that the Nobel Committee is so small is not lost on me. But like Shakespeare, I too am occupied with the pursuit of my creative endeavors and dealing with all the aspects of life's mundane matters. Who are the best musicians for this song? Am I recording in the right studio? Is this song the right key? Some things never change, even over 400 years. Not once have I ever had the time to ask myself, are my songs literature? So I do thank the Swedish Academy, both for taking the time to consider that very question, and ultimately for providing such a wonderful answer. My best wishes to you, Bob Dylan. End quote. I found that to be a very telling, um, telling story about himself. I love that. I hope you enjoyed that as well. And now, how about a fun, jolly chat story? And we'll call it Sunny and Ray's. Once upon a time, in a cozy little animal shelter, there were two puppies named Sunny and Ray's. Sunny was a spunky little terrier mix with a playful bark that sounded more like a squeaky toy, and Ray's, on the other hand, was a calm, slightly shy chihuahua who preferred observing the world from the safety of his corner. They had arrived at the shelter on the same day, from different places, and somehow ended up sharing a pen together. At first, they were unsure of each other. Sunny's boundless energy startled Ray's, and Ray's quiet nature puzzled Sunny. But over time, they began to bond. Sunny would bring over toys to Ray's and nudge him into playing, while Ray's would cuddle up next to Sunny when it was time to nap. Soon, they were inseparable, two small pups who had found comfort and friendship in each other's company. One afternoon, a family came into the shelter, looking for a furry companion to join their city apartment. They noticed Sunny first, who wagged her tail so enthusiastic it was like a blur. But then, as they leaned down to meet her, Ray's peeked out from behind her, his big, curious eyes melting their hearts. The family couldn't bear the thought of splitting them up. So they made the decision to adopt both Sunny and Ray's. The two pups left the shelter that day, tails wagging, ready to start their new life as city dogs. Their big city apartment would be filled with toys, love, and new adventures. Best of all, they'd never have to be apart. For Sunny and Ray's, their chance meeting at the shelter turned into a forever friendship and a forever home. The end. And now, as we come to the close of today's episode, let's remember that the stories we've shared come to serve as a reminder of the goodness of people and the goodness that surrounds us every day. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So find your beauty, shine, and share it. And remember to spread love, joy, and positivity whenever and wherever you go. So we'll see you next week for some more entertainment stories, fun facts, and did you know? Until then, peace and love always. And have a wonderful week.